September 25th, 2024, 5 p.m. We're on the second floor of City Hall for a budget hearing. Clerk, please take the roll call.
David Holt, Stephen Jopek, Luke Kramer. Here. Carrie Mikulowski.
Here.
Gerald Anderson.
Here.
Thomas Barnett. Bob Luter. Leanne Felton.
Here.
Chris Hannes.
Here. We do have quorum. Please stand for the pledge. Okay, moving on to number 4, which is public comment. Oh, my pen is blowing up. Do we have any public comment? Nope. Okay. Did any of the holders have any public comment? Nope. Okay, moving on to number 5, which is introduction of new business. Discuss city budget. First, we go to the library category in our packet. I will turn it over to Virginia, our library director. Oh, some of it.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here this evening. As you can see, we do have a cover letter on our library budget. It spells out why we are asking for the increase, which is primarily because of all the reasons that everybody else is asking for an increase. We have increases in utilities, one of which is the water utility, and that's primarily, and insurances. We also are not getting the same amount in cross-county payments as we had last year, so that is also reflected in there. And our popularity continues to increase. The city benefits extremely by this increase, so they do quite well by having the library in the city. And we would like to continue to do our best by our community. So that is what our budget is about. There's not a whole lot I can do once the budget is passed. It goes to every municipality in the district, so you're one of many. We will be discussing this probably sometime in October. Does anybody have any questions? Yeah, included in your packet is the services that the library provides, programs, services, items for checkout. So if you would like one of these, please let me know. I do have paper copies.
So just to make sure everyone's on the same page, so what the library presented, if it gets approved, the city would be budgeting $306,078, which is an additional $9,477 versus last year.
Yes.
Correct. So do you have a meeting date yet by chance for that meeting, or?
No, we will have a meeting date after. So the town of Pelican did call for arbitration, and at this point, the town of Pine Lake meets after this meeting. Newbold meets Thursday, and at that point, you know, it doesn't really matter. One town is called for arbitration. We will be holding an arbitration meeting. That meeting will be set at the next board meeting on October 15th.
So, and just for council knows, I think almost every year in the last several, we went to arbitration based on one of the bodies requesting it. Historically, it's been, about 1%, 1.5% is?
It's been less than a quarter of the COLA for the last 5 years. So COLA's gone up almost 23%. We've gotten just over 5%. So we're making it work, but it's not going to continue like that, I hope.
No. So I don't know if any of council members have any other questions.
I'm happy to answer. Yes?
Decrease in cross-county payments, is that a large amount?
So our cross-county payments went up significantly, but what cross-county payments are their payments in arrears of services already provided. So they were provided, those services were provided 2 years ago, and those cross-county payments have dropped because COVID drove up our cost per circulation on which those cross-county payments are based. Also, our library was open when other libraries were not, which meant a lot of people were crossing borders to get library materials. They are no longer. So it's going back to averages. I mean, so this is not an outrageous amount for our cross-county payments coming up. It's also not the high it was figured on last year. So I must ask the municipalities for more because we are receiving less in those.
Okay, not seeing any other questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next page in the packet would be the City of Rhinelander's Clerk's Department. We'll leave it at Austin first.
Yep, so both the clerk and the elections budget. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mr. Anderson?
Why does annexed property 5 years tax payment come under the clerk's office? Right in the middle of the right-hand column.
I'm actually going to ask Wendy on that. She'll have a better explanation than me.
That is where it was historically placed. It's not a line item that we have used very often. It came back in 2022. So what is placed there is when the city acquires a property and it becomes non-taxable, in the year that we take ownership of it, there's still a tax generated, and then the city pays that tax for just the year of acquisition, and then it becomes non-taxable. When we annex property, then we owe the townships their 5-year share, but it's like a 2-year delay of the year that we annex the property to when we have to make the property. So I know we're going through the process of possibly annexing in 2024. Those payments would not happen until 2026.
Why are they under the clerk's office?
I can't answer that. That's where it is according to the Wisconsin Chart of Accounts. It's a general government activity.
I mean, from a bookkeeping point of view, I don't see any issue with being underneath there since the clerk is doing most of the annexation process and requesting the funds, and his office does the most when it comes to annexation. You know, so I would suppose that makes sense to keep it there based on it's his department doing the work. Unless you wanted to move it to more of a common council category. So.
Just a general question about elections. I see. It's not. I would expect the election costs to go down in 25 compared to 24.
Yep, we only will have 2 elections, knock on wood, in next year compared to this year, which we've had 4.
But it doesn't go down a half. It doesn't go down by 50%.
Well, and some different things for next year's election, we are looking at changing the pay rate for our poll workers. Our department has done research for all townships in Oneida County as well as similar sized municipalities, and we are far towards the bottom of that pay range for those. And as it becomes harder and harder to find poll workers and then keep those qualified, well-trained poll workers, and the big thing that we're looking at doing now is instead of having our poll workers work your 7 a.m. or usually 6 a.m. all the way up to at least 8 p.m. Usually it's 10, 11 o'clock by the time we get out of there. Now we're shifting them so there's far less poll workers who are going to be working overtime hours and far more that are just going to be working normal salaried hours. So that's why there's a kind of a big change in with those, because we are not expecting many of our poll workers at all to be working long enough to do overtime. Not only is that better for the budget, but it also is better because I'm a Yunsbride 28-year-old, and that's a very, very long day for me. So I know a lot of our poll workers, that's a very, very long day for them as well.
And you're able to find enough people to cover those shifts?
Yep, right now we've been fortunate, but we do know that a lot of our poll workers tend to be older, and especially this year we've noticed a lot more retirements compared to previous years. And depending on how this November election goes, there might be a lot of them that decide, okay, I need to retire. But luckily right now, we have plenty of workers, and we're always looking for more as well.
Any other questions for the clerk's budget? Okay. Oh, Mr. Anderson?
Yeah, what is WDOR immunity fee? Something excess? The fifth line?
It stands for the manufacturing assessment. The city assessor does not do the manufacturing assessment. The state does. So they go around the state and do all the manufacturing assessments, and then they bill us for that service.
But the city assessor's fee is a different place in the budget.
Correct. It's on the council budget.
Okay.
And I was thinking on your question of why the real estate tax property acquisition could be in the clerk's office budget. The clerk's office is responsible for collecting all the taxes. So this would be a tax that we collect, but then we pay from the city. I think it's just all correlated to the taxes.
Thank you.
Okay, not seeing anything else, we move on to the next one, which would be the City of Rhinelander Police Department. Turn it over to our chief.
Good afternoon, early evening. This is my 8th time that I've presented a budget for you guys. If the cost that I can control, for example, under like life insurance and down, those are some of the things I have more control over. If you take off like the computer cost and maintenance cost, I'm only asking for about $1,100 increase in that part of the budget. I think one of the areas that we can do a better job at next year, I'm hoping, is to lower our overtime budget. We reduced that to an amount that was kind of around the 2022 year or 2023 year when we were fully staffed. And I think that with the one event that we get reimbursed for, that would have brought that amount right down to what we're looking at for 2025. So we'll be fully staffed. The 2 that graduated Friday night from the academy should be on field training and off of it mid-January. So that would put us into all of 2025, most of it at least, fully staffed. So that's huge when it comes to controlling that overtime budget. And the other cost savings that would help immensely is if we could find an attorney that would handle the city ordinance and our traffic forfeitures instead of going with Von Briesen. That's going to be a cost saving huge if we can find someone. I've been reaching out, but none of the retirees are interested that I've currently come across.
Any questions for his budget? Mr. Anderson?
So the other side of what you're saying is that the parts that you can't control are what's increased it so much.
Yeah, union wages, the contract, the negotiations part, and insurance.
Yeah.
Those are going to always be the largest increases. Personnel.
Well, thank you. Moving on to the next one, which would be K-9 budget, which is under the police department.
And as a reminder, that is 100% funded by donations. So just trying to be more accurately as we predict cost, expenditures, and revenues. Revenues, the only organized event we have for fundraising is the Brat Fry with People's Bank in June. Other than that, we, throughout the year, will get random gifts for the K-9 program. I should note that Odin has had several medical issues this year, but he's unique that private donor within our community purchased basically health insurance on the dog. So his last trip to the UW vet in Madison was covered by the insurance, and we got a check to cover that cost. He had to go back there last week for some other concerns, and the insurance will probably pick that up. So it cuts down on us going through that, the savings of that account. But if we needed to revenue there, we would just have some type of fundraising event. It would not impact the general fund whatsoever.
Any questions for this budget? Okay. Moving on to the next budget, which is the DARE account, which is handled by our police department.
And we're in the process of spending that down. We no longer have a DARE program. I don't have an interest of anybody interested in being certified as a DARE instructor. We did that for many years at the two parochial schools here in town. So what we're using that money for now is we do go into like nativity. We've been doing some drug awareness education for the kids. And then at the end of that program, we've been buying them like pizza. But that's a amount that need be we could refocus towards like maybe the recovery coach if that became an expense, because it's all alcohol drug related.
Any questions for this budget? Okay, thank you. Moving on to the City of Rhinelander Fire Department budget. Chief?
Good evening. So for our fire department budget, it's much like PD. The exception of the fact that we have put a goal in place to start working towards an ISO rating of 2 for the city. With that is some additional training that is required of us, along with accessing emergency water sources throughout the city, which we've added some retention ponds throughout as we've built up some of these hotels and areas, some of these commercial areas. So those help with our water sources. So we're trying to do our part to increase our training that ISO 2 requires of us. So in our travel and training budget, you'll see a $5,000 request for Nicolay. That those trainings that we need for that is they need to be at a sanctioned training site, and Nicolay College obviously has that for us. So we'll use most of that money for like live fire training, training on their tower, ladder training, operations type of stuff.
Excuse me, that ISO has something to do with determining people's insurance rates?
Correct. It's an insurance rate, yes.
Any other questions for the fire department budget? Mr. Kramer?
I don't know if you would be able to answer this or if this is something Wendy would be, but for the health and dental, is that an estimate also, because we don't have insurance rates again? So it could be higher?
So we budgeted 15%, and we just got word that it'll be at about 16.5. So those numbers are actually a little low based on what we know as of now. I believe we're going to start the process of exploring options to control that cost. So, and that would be on all budgets currently, so everything that you have seen thus far was budgeted at 15. So, anything else for the fire department budget? The only thing I would point out is if you look at the bottom, the transfer to the special revenues fund for the ambulance of 50,000, because then the rest of their budget is on the following page, just to point it out. So, Chief?
I just have one question. Is the fire department fully staffed as well now?
No, we're still one person short.
One, okay.
Yeah, we've been short all year. At one point in time, we were 3 personnel short. So you can see that. Obviously, I didn't mention it, but you can obviously see that in our overtime budget this year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, the ambulance budget. The good news for the ambulance budget, if you may recall, we increased our rates earlier this year, and they are showing that they are impacting our revenues, our cost recovery for our services at this time. We are looking at coming out in the black for our projections for the year. If that holds true, we will not need a subsidy from the general fund again. That'll be 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, I believe, for us. So in the past, we've spent quite a bit of money in subsidies to the ambulance services. But with new software systems and better billing and more oversight on the billing and some better, different budgeting processes, we've been able to kind of bring that down, those expenditures down, and use those revenues for cost recovery. So we've kind of been able to plane that out a little bit and make it a successful service. The ambulance budget, so 18% of the firefighters' salaries goes to the ambulance budget. So we pay 18% of all salaries to that. And then the rest of this is really kind of what it is. We have 2 built in here for travel and training for to send them to paramedic school. We've been pretty unsuccessful with hiring paramedics. We can't even get them to apply up here for us. So we've had to take that requirement off of our job listings, and we've been hiring EMTs, and then in turn we are sending them to paramedic school. Rhinelander is an ALS service, and to carry forward that ALS service, we need ALS providers, and those are paramedics.
Mr. Anderson?
What is the debt line about? Principal on debt?
So that was...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that was debt that was taken on by the city for this over the years, either to buy new equipment, or I believe some of it might go back to the addition that was put on 8 to 10 years ago. So they, since the debt was taken on for the service, it was appropriate to then have the debt payments come out of this account in part.
That's from our the addition to the fire station, and the garages for PD come out of that.
And then if you look underneath, towards the bottom where it says vehicles, we had budgeted for 2024, 248,000. That was the local share for the new ambulance. We're not looking to take possession of that until next year. So that's why it shows no actual forecast for the expense this year, and then push to 2025, because that's when we would take ownership of the vehicle. Mr. Anderson?
I see it's bottom estimate 58% of charge uncollectible.
Yeah, that's Wendy's note. I'm not sure.
So when we get the information from LifeQuest for the billing information, they give us a breakdown of what the fees were charged, the ambulance fees, which are up top in our revenue. And then we track over the life of the ambulance how much we've billed out and then how much money we've collected. So when we have bad debt or the contractual allowances are, say the claim was billed out at $100, but it went to like a Medicare recipient, and Medicare said, okay, that's great, you billed them $100, but we are only going to pay you $56. So then that $44 is not collectible, so that becomes the contractual allowance. And we just have a tracking of what our record is of what the collectability has been. And yes, our rates have gone up, but also our uncollectability amount has also increased.
And that's not something that we can really control locally.
So we can't control that right now, but the state of Wisconsin has passed in the resolution to, excuse me, to build a Medicaid at the federal rate. That was supposed to begin this year. It's called the GEMT program, the Ground Emergency Medical Transport Program. And that gives us the ability to bill out at the federal rate rather than the rate Wisconsin is, which is a much lower rate. It was supposed to go into play this year. They're dragging their feet on the process for it, government work. So what it sounds like is it's going to possibly still get activated this year. And then every year you will have to put in for it. We have to track our numbers, and our billing company will help to track those numbers. And we have to apply for those monies, and we get those in arrears. So they will pay us at the end. So it'll roll over for 1 year, and we'll get it in for the year prior. So it's going to be kind of difficult to gauge and figure out when we get going with it, but we'll start to see more revenues in there from that, because it does kind of eat up that contractual allowance a little bit. So the contractual allowance it's not a loss, we just can't get that money. It's not available, I guess is what we bill it, but it's not available funds. So.
And you said that was Medicaid, not Medicare?
Yeah, it's Medicaid for that, yep.
So kind of got a weird question, and I don't know if this is something, or is that one of those, like if we raise rates by $1, are we collecting less percentage based on the newer rate? Or is it holding pretty standard with each other where,
The mixture, so the rates are broken down by a mixture of resident, non-resident, and all that. And a lot of it depends on the patient's insurance and stuff. So when we have a high month of running to, say, the nursing homes and stuff, when we get a lot of Medicare, Medicaid, you're going to find that we're going to have that contractual allowance, but that 1 month is going to be huge, and our fees are going to be up there, but that contractual allowance is going to be up there as well. So a lot of it has to do with how we bill in our rates and stuff, and that's why we do the rate surveys with our third-party company before we bring them before you. They take it from other cities that are our size or bigger or smaller, and put it all together kind of to figure out where we need to be. And we're still not even at the top quarter of it. We're still below that. So we've kept our rates pretty base for residents. We've just increased for non-residents.
Mr. Anderson?
Does all of our billing go through LifePlus? I mean, Medicare, Medicaid, everything?
Yeah, everything goes through LifeQuest. We don't handle any money. All the billing gets through. It was LifeQuest. LifeQuest has been bought out by EMS-MC. So it's the same product, really. They're going through some issues, and Wendy can tell you that we've had a lot of problems with the billing and trying to get numbers from them and stuff this year. So we still have some work to do on that. So I know some of these numbers will probably change before the end of the year, but I think we're getting pretty close to the ballpark now that we're comfortable with what we have here.
Any other questions for the ambulance budget? Okay. Moving on to hazardous materials. Chief?
All right, so hazardous materials, as most of you know, hazmat is We are part of the Oneida County Type 2 team. It's a regional hazmat team that covers Oneida, Vilas, Langlade, and Lincoln counties. Oneida County currently runs it. We have been in discussions for Rhinelander Fire Department to take over that for that Type 2 team because they don't have the personnel to run it anymore and they're having problems with retention and recruitment. If we take it on, it will add around $20,000 to that that income. So we would do a budget amendment for that because it's not done yet. It's a state contract that opens us up for some state grant opportunities. We get some of them right now, but we're kind of second or last in line behind Oneida County what they want. So as long as they're running it, excuse me, as long as they're running it and emergency management has it, they have a computer grant where they replace computers every year. There's radios that they replace all the time. But then when it comes to the tools and equipment and stuff, they have no use for that, for those tools and equipment. So that's when we get in there and we say, okay, we want this for this much for these tools and equipment. And then that comes on top of the current $16,500 that we get from them. So we get a quarterly allowance from them of $4,500. And that goes into this fund. So instead of splitting that cost later on down the line, that whole cost would come to us.
Can you just explain what the hazardous materials are? Like, what are your most common?
Up in here, in this area, it's vehicle accidents, truck rollovers, petroleum-based products. We do have, your industrial areas where there is, a chance of some industrial size spills that we would respond to. For the technician level, technicians, for this hazmat team, a Type 2 hazmat team, has the ability to stop the product from moving and to test products, to touch the products, and to be in a level A suit, which is that fully encapsulated suit with a breathing air and everything. Hazardous operations are able to dike, dam, and divert. So in this area, the closest team that has that kind of credentialing is Wausau. So if Rhinelander Fire doesn't take this over and Oneida County can no longer do it, then we would be calling on Wausau for any kind of hazardous material spills in the Northwoods. So I think it's pretty imperative for us to take it over to make sure that the community is taken care of, and we're not waiting for a Wausau to come up here.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for this budget? Okay. Moving on to our next one, which is 2% fire dues, Chief.
All right, so 2% dues is what we get every year. 2% dues is paid by the insurance companies through the state. They are divvied out by the SPS. We get them at the middle of every year. The state statute is very specific about what we can spend our monies on for 2% dues and go towards salaries. Most of it's tied into public education, fire inspections, and fire suppression activities. You can, for monies that you don't spend, you can put them into they say an escrow account. You can escrow it and you can save those monies up to put towards a vehicle or something at some point in time if you'd like to, or some larger purchases. We were able to push this out as a separate item this last year. This is our first year doing this, and it has worked wonders for us to be able to get some up-to-date tools and equipment that we sorely needed. So this has really helped us along a lot. It has a lot of value to it, and it's something that we know we're going to get every single year unless the state folds. So it's a very important one. This has no impact on the general fund at all.
Any questions for this budget? Okay, moving on to the next two, which would be inspections. One page is if we keep the townships, and one would be without the townships. So, Chief?
So I started mentioning the other night that if we don't do the townships, it's fine. We don't have to do the townships. But we still have a statutory requirement to take care of the city. We still have to be able to provide the services for the city for UDC inspections. Right now, if with the townships, you can see this is all just expenditures in here. There's no revenues. This is a revenue-bearing account. It does make us revenues. We don't lose money in this account, even when we pay for professional services for CLEM or RC inspections. The problem is that CLEM doesn't want to do it anymore for us. Like I said the other night, they want the whole pie instead of a piece of the pie. You can't really blame them. The city has done pretty well with this, but we just have had a hard time finding the one person that has all the qualified, all the credentials that is required for that position. The only way that we could carry forward is to kind of make a hybrid inspector and pay them a percentage of each inspection that they go on. We do have interest for people in those areas that we could bring in and have them as a consultant of some sort and pay them a percentage of whatever inspection they do. They can do that just for the city. It also, we have found that administratively, the townships have taken up a ton of our time, and it really stresses this department, especially when we don't have an inspector in there to schedule the inspections and stuff when we're working with a third party. My only concern here is that this is a revenue generator, and the townships are a revenue generator, and we know that we can provide a very good provide service for the community when we have the right people in there, but we just can't get the right people in there. So, you know, it's going to be a loss. It's going to be a lose-lose on this one without the townships. But maybe it's not right now, but we can look at maybe later down the road. RC might not be around forever. There's nobody else up here in this area that does that right now, that does the UDC inspections the way that they do. The other option for us is to partner with another municipality in the area. Merrill has an inspector that's qualified like this that works for the city of Merrill. So we would have to talk about some kind of contract for them to do that. We also, Patrick's been in conversations with some company from down south that says that they can do all this stuff for a premium. But I've never looked at the numbers for it really. I don't even know what they would cost us and if it would be, viable or not, an option. So if we do it with townships, I think it's incumbent upon us to get to them as soon as we can to let them know that we will no longer be able to provide that service. Clem will continue to provide the service for us until the end of the year. We've had some conversations with him and negotiated that with him. He wanted it to be done November 1st, but he has agreed to hold on till the end of the year. Also, so the electrical inspections, we delegated to Clem to do electrical inspections because they asked us to do it for commercial and residential electrical inspections. They no longer want to do that either. So we need to find an commercial electrical inspector at the very least for the city as well. I do have options there. Again, it would be a percentage of whatever they do for inspections and stuff, which, it'd still be cost effective for us to do it that way. That's how that's how he hires his people. That's how his people do it. They do get a percentage of each inspection. So that ensures that we have at least cost recovery. And it's not our employee either, so we don't pay benefits or anything to them. So honestly, it's really up to you guys what you want to do. For me, I know I feel like I let it down. We brought this into the fire department in an effort to save this department because we were having so many issues with customer service and the departments and no department head there, and kind of know where to go with it. And we had one go at it with one person that we hired, and he didn't work out, unfortunately. And if administration no longer wants to put the time and effort into this, and which is what I'm hearing, then I'm not going to fight it, because it doesn't do me any good to sit here and fight all the time for something that we're going to lose anyway. So,
Mr. Anderson?
Are we waiting to hear from the townships as to whether they want to renew, or is it primarily our decision based on manning problems?
Per the contract that was in your guys' agenda packet from last meeting and will be in the next meeting, it's either party could end. So I mean, over the years, some have come and gone. So I think Sugar Camp we had as a township that left. There's, I don't know if it's official. No, is it Three Lakes?
3 Lakes.
3 Lakes, sorry. 3 Lakes left us, I think, a year or two ago. New Bold has talked about it. I don't know if they officially told us they don't want to renew.
Yeah, we haven't gotten up. Oh, yes, we did. Yeah, we did. For
Yeah,
add-on.
so,
We know
Yeah.
they're not going to renew with us.
yeah, so either party could end. I believe it's a one-year contract. What makes this tricky is, you know, the cost of doing it for the most part, the employee or the contractor, plus, you know, the UDC stamps, the gas, the mileage, you know that cost. But you don't know what's going to be built in the townships from year to year. You know, if you have a year with high construction, we make a good amount of money off it. If you have a slow year or two, you lose money because you got the overhead of those employees, the health care, that's as a constant. That's when it was in-house, and I would say that started back when this was with Terry Williams as chief and Tom Wadek. Well, when they retired, at that time, people wanted to separate the two departments. They thought it'd be better for it to have its own identity. They hired Robbie. So then Robbie didn't work out with the city, moved on, and we kind of fell into this free-for-all. That's when we tried to bring it back to fire and contract some of it out in the meantime to fill the void. So my biggest concern is a couple things. One, there's no good candidates out there. So it's not something where we're trying to hire someone that there's people in our community that could do the work. So that makes it a little hard to find someone. Two, if we have a contract with these guys and we can't fulfill it, we're on the hook. So that's a concern because there's not a pool of people. And three, we are elected to provide service to the city of Rhinelander, and I feel this is distracting us from that. You know, I think if this freed up more time in the inspections office, they could work on developing that software we purchased more last year to become more efficient, provide a better service. I mean, we have all heard of some issues, you know, with inspections, which always come up. You know, at the end of the day, inspections are here to provide a quality of living, and people sometimes don't want to support that because of the cost, you know, from a business to a homeowner, what have you. But if we could get more efficient to provide a better service from turnaround times to document, you know, supporting the process, I think that puts our residents in a better position. And then in the future, this might put us in a better position to take back this if there's a need in the greater community. So, but that's my concern at this point is, one, we don't have the staffing to do it. We don't have a contractor really to subcontract it out. And when that, if and when that fails, we're on the hook for providing the service with the townships. This at times have also caused some stress between the city and township X or Y, which just for intergovernment working abilities, you know, add some pressure. So it's one of those where personally I think at this time we should look inward to provide a better service than trying to be the big brother to all of our townships.
So attached to this position is also the code enforcement officer. And we did post this position. We had 30 candidates apply for it. None of them had a UDC credential, but we do have candidates that have a strong construction background, plan review background. Some have electrical background. So there's people out there that, but once again, you're taking a chance again of somebody that's going to fit. Yeah, we have plenty of people to choose from, but we could very well end up in the same spot. And I don't disagree with Chris. We do owe it to our taxpayers to put our attention on the taxpayers.
Ms. Michalowski.
So if we were to let the townships go, do we have the personnel to do the work in the city currently or not?
No.
So how do we fix that?
So I would need direction. I would need the go-ahead to explore those options. I'll be honest with you, there's been a lot of things been going on with meetings and stuff like that without me being included in it. So I don't know exactly what the direction is that we're looking at here, because again, we have the code enforcement issue now too. I've been doing code enforcement and I come at a premium because you're paying me a whole lot of money to be a code enforcement officer and not to be a fire chief right now. So you don't want me to continue to be your code enforcement officer, and I don't want to continue to be a code enforcement.
Right.
But it really, what it boils down to is you tell me what you want and I will figure it out, or we will figure it out.
Maybe I misunderstood, but you said it's hard to find one person with all 4 credentials.
Correct.
But do we have people that have one of each of those? Like 4 people with each, or we don't have that
Yeah,
either?
so we have 2 that have construction. We have a couple of individuals, 3 individuals now that have approached me and asked about doing the electrical. We don't have a plumber. We have a plumber in the city, but they don't have the proper certifications. They would have to apply to the state to get that, and it might take some training and stuff too to get that. And he's in a whole nother department, and I don't know if we'd want to pull him away from that department because it's pretty important. And then we need the HVAC piece of it too. So someone would have to get HVAC. We can definitely figure that out, those pieces out. The problem is with UDCs, so when you do a final, you have to do all 4 of the inspections. So you're gonna have 4 people there instead of 1 person. So like Steven and I mentioned, your force multiplier, that's what we always look for, is that force multiplier, to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. 1 person to do 4 jobs. And we were just unsuccessful with that this time. So we'd have to explore that. If that's what the body wants, then that's what we'll figure out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not ideal, but
No.
if it makes it work,
Yeah,
our choices are limited.
right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the only other option that might be on the table is would RC, inspections do just the city, from that point. So if the townships were let go, they might be more inclined to help us in that category until we find a personnel. But that's, chicken and egg kind of scenario. So, but really those are your 2 options. You either find a staff to do it or you contract it out. And right now RC is really the only contractor in the near vicinity, unless we partner with another community like Wausau or Merrill, or find someone out of the blue. So.
Hire a headhunter?
I suppose that's an option, but prefer the whole
Hire
body
what?
than just the head.
Oh. They're expensive.
So, any other questions for their budget? Okay, well, that concludes our budget hearing for today. Next Common Council meeting will be October 14th at 6 p.m. Upcoming budget meetings, October 2nd at 5, October 9th at 5, October 16th at 5. With that, it is 5:49, meeting adjourned.